I worked in this restaurant once with a fancy chef. He was like eating something super fancy. I forget what it was, like literally caviar or lobster or something like that. I was like, "Chef, is this the best thing you've ever eaten?" And he looked me right in the eye and he goes, "No, the best thing I've ever eaten is fried cheese." Hi, I'm Melissa Clark, and I'm a food reporter for the New York Times. And I'm here at the NYT Cooking kitchen studio to make halloumi with cherry tomatoes, corn, and basil. I developed this dish to be its own thing. It's a main course dish as far as I'm concerned. Meatless main course full of vegetables. It's something that you'd want to make in the summer when you can get amazing corn and amazing tomatoes. And the halloumi just adds so much. It's what they call a frying cheese or a grilling cheese. It comes from Cyprus. It is a mix of goat and sheep's milk, and it has a very firm texture. It's almost like a cheese crouton. It's one of my favorite ways to eat cheese. It maintains its shape, it will fry, it'll get warm and runny and a little bit crisp. And it just makes this lovely, fresh, vegetable-full dish really good. First thing I'm gonna do is show you how I like to cut corn, because I have a little trick. My favorite way is just to keep the kernels as close to the cutting board as possible so that they don't fly all over the place. So put your corn down horizontally, take your knife, and just cut them off like this. So you've made a flat side so it's even more stable, and then you just go around. All right, so we have a little flying, but not nearly as much as you would. And I just go back and get the little corners off. At this point, I can even pick it up because there's not that much to fly off, so it all slides right down. And that's it. It's nice, juicy summer corn. This is what I think of as a quintessentially summery dish just because of the ripe tomatoes and you want the corn. But when it's in the middle of January and you're craving summer and you're like, "Oh my God, give me summer," you can make this with frozen corn. So here is our halloumi. This one is speckled with a little bit of mint. Some halloumi has dried mint in it, some doesn't. If you can't find halloumi, you can use pretty much any kind of frying cheese or cheese that will hold its shape when cooked. Paneer, which is Indian, panela, which is Mexican. You find it Scandinavian bread cheese. You can use them interchangeably. They're all gonna work. They all have slightly different flavors. What I love about halloumi is because it's a mix of goat milk and sheep's milk, it's got a little tang, which is really nice. I'm just gonna cut this up into bite-sized cubes. Just think of it as croutons in your salad. You want to be able to spear it on your fork and just put it right in your mouth. Any cheese that you fry has a tendency to stick. So non-stick is our friend. It's going to help us get the cheese to easily release without using a ton of oil. And this is really important. Always get your pan hot before you add your oil, before you add your cheese. That increases its non-stickability. Is that a word? Non-stickability. But you know what I mean. Paper towel. I'm going to pat my halloumi dry so that it browns better. Because we know moisture is the enemy of crisp. I like to say that a lot. So just enough oil really to coat the bottom. It should immediately thin out and coat the pan. And I'm gonna add my cheese in one layer. You don't wanna move the cheese around in the pan. You just wanna let it sit for just a minute or two, and then I'll flip it all over. And in the meantime, I'm gonna get my cherry tomatoes ready. Just cutting them right in half. And cherry tomatoes are better for this than a cubed whole tomato, big tomato, because they hold their shape better when they're heated. That's nice and golden brown, and now I'm just gonna turn them right over. It goes really quickly. When you're searing these, you wanna make sure your pan is big enough to give them lots of room. If you have a smaller pan, you should work in batches. And as soon as they take on color on the other side, they're done. I'm gonna put them right on that paper towel lined plate. And once these are out of the pan, I'm gonna use the same pan, you don't have to wash it, to sauté everything else. And whatever little bits of cheese are left in there are gonna stay in our dish. We don't lose a drop, which is great. So a little more oil, and then all of this goes in at the same time. So I have my corn, my tomatoes, and this is thinly sliced fresh jalapeno. Seeded or unseeded, depending on your tolerance for spice. Usually I seed about half of it and leave half the seeds in. This looks like a lot of jalapeno, but this is not a super spicy dish. Pretty mellow. But if you know that you want something to be very spicy, you want a spicier dish, substitute a serrano chili. And if you want it to be milder, use a little less jalapeno and make sure to seed it well. And I also have whole cumin seed and just salt. So I'm really only gonna cook this for a few minutes. probably about 5, maybe a little more depending on how juicy everything is, but I want to keep this dish juicy. I want to just heat everything through. I'm looking for the tomatoes to soften just a little bit. I'm looking for the jalapeno to become a little bit tender. The corn is just going to do its thing. The corn is going to warm through. The beauty of corn is that it's going to taste good whether it's juicy, crunchy, or if it's cooked a little more, it'll still be really good in this dish. So just warm it through. I keep thinking warm salad, warm salad. Let that be your guiding principle of this dish.
Hot salsa.
Yeah, it is kind of like a hot salsa. Here, this is how we know it's done. The tomato skin is starting to shrivel just a little bit. That's when you pull it off the heat. That is done. Make sure your heat is off when you add the cheese. You're just warming up the cheese and the residual heat of the corn and the tomatoes, jalapenos, and then raw red onions. They're gonna wilt a little bit, but not too much. We want them crispy. This is just lime juice. It's a really simple dressing. And now lots and lots of beautiful fresh basil. You can chop it, you can tear it. You really need to taste this and add more lemon, more salt, more olive oil. It just needs a little pepper, nothing else. Does not need more salt, does not need more lime. Look how pretty this is. And how easy was that, right? This is a 20-minute summery meal that works even in the middle of winter. That's a rare thing. I've created this dish at home, I've tested it, I've written the recipe, and then months or years later, I make it again on camera. I'm always like, am I still gonna like it? How's it gonna be? Why don't I make this more often? This is so good. First of all, fried cheese is the best thing ever. It's melty, it's crisp, it's so salty and flavorful, and I love the mix of the goat and the sheep's milk. Makes it really complex tasting. Corn is sweet, tomatoes are juicy, the onions add a little bit of a bite, a little crispness, but not too much. And then the lime juice makes the whole thing just zippy and bright. It's delicious in the summer, it's delicious in the winter, it's delicious right now, and you all should make this. I think it's perfect. Eat this while it's still warm. Really, it's about the halloumi. And the halloumi is at its best when it is warm, because then you get that juxtaposition, you get that melty interior and the crisp edges. You can find this recipe and so many others at nytcooking.com or click the link below and leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Tell us if you made it and how it came out. And that's it. I'm gonna eat all this fried cheese all by myself.